when we got to Auschwitz and the train doors slid open, there was a cold rush of air coming in on us. Extremely cold, but extremely refreshing, as I recall it. And at that point, people started going out. They had to almost fall out because there was not enough room in there to contain everybody. But there were officers outside, the German soldiers shouting.
Again, it was at night, and there was a lot of shouting. There were dogs barking, and it was a sea of humanity, really. And again, my vision was again only the bottoms of people's legs, and I do remember following an entire crowd with our mother and Renee to this house where we were, barrack, barn, whatever, where we would be spending some time. We were together for about 4 months, I believe, at which time there was an action called, and a few twins and perhaps some doctors and nurses were separated, and Renee and I were at that time separated from our mother. And I can only recall a soul-piercing cry from our mother. And I know we didn't want to let go, but we were forcibly taken from her. And then we were also separated from each other. It was only later on that we learned that that entire lager, that 3,700 people were all killed that night.
Your mother among them?
Yes, our mother among them.
Do you recall the separation as well?
Yeah, that seems to be the point where I awoke again and began remembering this emotional scar or hurt that took place when we were separated. And from that point on, we were apart, and I now am by myself in a men's lager, in a men's camp. Mostly when I got to the infirmary, what I remember is always had to get undressed, at least up to here, maybe further too, and being put between two cold plates, which I know were called Röntgen machines. I think that's X-ray. And measured and weighed and poked and pushed, but nothing much more than that. Nothing much more than that.
I remember going to Mengele specifically. Actually, the very first time that we went to the doctor was when our mother was still with us. So we were still in the Czech Familian lager. And I remember it especially because I was only concerned that Renee would cry, because he was a crybaby when it came to doctors, and I was scared that he would cry and something terrible would happen to him. But he got the message. He was good. He didn't cry. And that was the one time we went with our mother. After that, I do remember going to the hospital, being in the hospital, because I was sick. I don't know if I was sick with just some childhood disease or whether I was sick because I had gotten an injection of something that made me ill. But I have recollections of blood being taken from my neck and my arms. I remember many x-rays and injections, and I hate doctors. I hate hospitals.
Do you remember whether these procedures were painful or just uncomfortable, or how did you react to them?
The blood from the neck was extremely painful, extremely painful. But I knew I couldn't cry, and I didn't. I never cried.
I want to mention one thing, what Irene mentioned before, that I also was motivated to keep myself going by the fact that I knew that she was somewhere out there. I even saw her once. I think we saw each other once through a fence or two fences. Nothing was said. We just saw each other, and we knew we were alive, and always had that feeling that she was alive. Always. That never left. And everything that happened afterwards was just done basically so I could meet up with Irene.